This video's purpose is to review the generator panel that's in the basement in the workshop. This is the generator panel. We're going to talk about some of the items that are controlled from here. And it has the ability to distribute power either from normal household power or generator power. So on the panel itself, you'll notice a number of features where it's indicated normal, which because this is in the on position, it's taking street power in a normal way. It's day-to-day operation. And the generator, because of this lever, forces the generator portion to be in the downwards off position. Now, this is the portion that feeds electricity to the devices on that side. So you can see the numbers mechanically printed here, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 here, which is in the shadow a little bit. This is a double breaker, so this is an exception to these. They are distributed to a different set of lists of things that are on the door, and there's like an instruction here, and over here it indicates what is controlled. So breaker number 5, the physical breaker number 5, which is this one, claims that it's wired to the microwave, and the plug is situated in the upper cabinet above the range microwave, above the stove. So this would be an ideal spot in the kitchen that if you needed power for another reason, you could utilize an extension cord from there down to another spot, like on the counter or something, if you needed to use an electric kettle. Now, breaker number 6, is indicated as a furnace. So number 6. And the furnace is situated to your left-hand side here of the panel. Okay, so this is a new item that was installed in 2023. And here in the workshop, the electrical for the furnace is supplied through this armored cable here to this plug. And from the plug, it also feeds the circuit board that controls the furnace. That's what's implied by the furnace. And below this, there's a drain pump. So this is responsible for draining out the water that accumulates in the body of the furnace because of the type, and evacuates liquids up this pipe, up and over, through the lighting fixtures on the far wall, and it drains into the floor. So there shouldn't be like a constant stream, but when it's very busy with air conditioning and things like that, and in the winter time, it takes the humidity out of the machine so it doesn't rust. But again, air conditioning would not run in a power outage circumstance. Okay, so next thing on the list, we have the upper lights fuse. So I suspect it might be living room. What else does it say here? Receptacles on the east side. So the upper light, so I'm thinking probably the kitchen light, the bathroom light, and maybe the master bedroom is what's intended. So it's not the whole house that has power. Now, this is one of the most critical ones. So this is considered a double breaker. There's the fridge upstairs on the left side, and the fridge down DN on the others. This is meant to prevent spoiling of your food and to ensure you have a proper food supply in an emergency that's not compromised. So in the panel, this is the upstairs fridge, and that's the downstairs fridge. Now, this panel, if for whatever reason you had a failure or something quote unquote popped a breaker or popped a fuse, in all circumstances the items described the fuse or the breaker, as we know it in this house, would trip here, not in the panel that's hidden in the rec room, which I'll show you here. We're going to make our way over to the rec room. It's located in kind of a hidden cabinetry over here with the sliding doors. This is the main panel of the house. It controls the distribution of power in a normal sense for the majority of the house, except for the items we highlighted next door. This is the main disconnect. So if you wanted to totally cut off the power from the street in one step, you would press that and it would poof, the whole house would be without power. Or you could turn this off as well if you wanted to be extra sure that you won't get a surprise surge of something if there was a big outage and everybody in the neighborhood had problems, and that would protect your appliances. And then there's a map here that shows the breaker labels, and then in here, these are fuses. Okay. It's not as well labeled and documented. I would personally trust this. And this would not be part of what's controlled in a circumstance where there is an outage. Okay, so they've been lettered with whiteout. And then you can see that air conditioner is one of the items that's not covered by the generator, and neither is the stove. So your only means to cook in the natural way that things are positioned right now is the microwave. So that, in a sense, is all that's there. On the opposite side, there is another style of disconnect with a big handle. This also could disrupt the power for the street power, and it has a different type of fuse, but that's not the point of this video. The point of the video is more to be prepared for the use of the generator. So let's go back to the generator panel room. And we'll conclude what we're doing. So in the event that there's an outage that's extended and it's worth starting the generator, you would alter this guy down and this guy up. So this would kill the power, the line and the neutral, for if anyone technical is watching, is moved over to the line and neutral coming from the generator. It gets isolated from the street. That's a big no-no that some people who don't know what they're doing will try to have some weird way to connect the house and this and that to a generator to backfeed it. So they would use like a wrong kind of, let's say, jerry-rigged electrical cord with male ends at each end, and then they would kind of plug it into like an outlet here to send power in here, and then it would go up in the don't do that. Don't let anybody do that to this house. It's not meant for that. The other thing that would be interrupted that's important for a major event is the internet and telephone. So you would not have connectivity to the outside world. The step that you could do if you wanted to attempt communication in case, you know, fiber optic or a panel feeding the home at some point would be active, is you would take this yellow plug, unplug it, and position it here where the furnace would have power under generator. So if you had to try your best to make communication with somebody, that would be your best bet to try to get the internet going if it was available to the neighborhood. Because again, you're still dependent on the utility like VNet or whoever is providing you internet, that they aren't lacking electricity or the means to communicate. So that would be your first and only attempt to try to get things revived here at home. If, like, say the power outage was just like into 1 to 2 houses or something, or your cable to the pole got knocked off just here, that would probably re-enable the ability to connect to the internet if you needed to do so. I mean, those are modern things that you would need to worry about. A major deficiency of this system that I've kind of gone over in determined is that this hot water tank is not natural gas. It's electric, and the electricity feed for these require 240 volts. The power for this unit is fed from the large panel in the rec room on the other side, which does not have generator coverage. So the major deficiency of this setup is that you would not have the ability to have hot water to cleanse yourself. You would have to have like an electric kettle or something to boil water to do the dishes or to cleanse yourself. So that's a major gotcha thing. So be on the lookout for that. If you did have an extended outage, this is one of the game changers that you could not circumvent with the current setup. Yes, other than this portion of electrical power distribution that is very important to understand and how to prepare for it, these were the major points that you have to know. And in the light that you're trying to run some stuff in the generator, keep in mind that it has a limited capacity. It can't run everything at once. You want to give it a very conservative approach, that the most precious thing that this thing is meant or designed to maintain is your ability to heat in the winter, because the source of the fuel to burn is natural gas, and the blower and the fans it takes to run it. So your house will not freeze in the winter if you have your generator set up. Now you can only run it as long as you have fuel, and because we don't run the generator a lot, I've suggested that we keep only a minimum amount of fuel on disposition on the property, and we'd have to make it a priority to get a higher volume of fuel if we think the outage will be extended somehow. Usually the first couple hours of a major event like I had in 2025 in March, it was chaos at the pumps. So in some ways you may want to wish to hold off to a less peak hour where people are huddling at home to go get fuel, or wait for someone to come from work to help you to get some fuel for the generator and then to fill it up. I'm going to make a separate video on how to start the generator and to keep it going, and some suggestions as to like monitoring its runtime, because you have to take care of things like oil change intervals and things like that, and you don't want to be running it indefinitely. So you want to kind of keep track of it as to how hard it's been working and how much time it's run overall. But I hope this video has been useful in regards to the preparation of what you got to do with the house and knowing if you're good or not. So I plan on making another video for the generator running and setting it up. It will probably include us walking into the house, doing the flip of the switch, and maybe using the furnace as a load by turning on the blower through the thermostat upstairs, and the positioning of the generator where it's tended to go, locating and finding all the switches, and making sure it runs ready and it's good for test runs occasionally, maybe every 2 months, let's say, to make sure that it's okay and it's reliable. And then from there, you're good to go. So I'm going to stop the video for now, and we'll work on the next stuff. For the record, this is Odal, the homeowner. So we're coaching her today to prepare for the panel and the generator start. So this is the second video of the series. The first one was the explanation of the panel, and we're going to have Mom do it and show you. So right now, we're still in normal household power. The left-hand side switch is active, and the breakers have all been turned off to the exception of the refrigerators, the far right two breakers. These two there. We can't really control the intervals of when the fridges will come and start and stop, so we don't want to mess with that too much, and we left it on as long as possible till we're getting ready to start the generator. So if they were needing to run now, they're okay. And if they're off for 10 minutes while we start the generator, it won't be a big deal. But we're trying to keep the load low on the generator while we start, and we have a better control of phasing things on, and we left the lights on in the areas where we know there'll be lighting. So later, the second to last breaker right here, that's number 7. And on our list, number 7 is the receptacles on the east side. And the number 6 was the furnace. Again, we turned the furnace off because it's not needed to run right now. And we don't want a sudden startup, but we'll be turning it on later to activate the blower and things like that. Just to, make sure everything is running right on the generator. Okay, so we're in the best running condition right now for Mom to change to the generator side. So you're going to put your thumb on the generator switch with your right hand. Put it like that.
Underneath, yeah.
And then phase it up.
Okay.
Okay.
And it shows on.
It shows on and the other one's off. So as proof of that, we know the refrigerators are supposed to be running now. So if we go quickly open the door in the refrigerator downstairs, the lights are going to be off to prove we've completely isolated it from the main house power. So Mom's making her way and you can see it's off.
Yeah.
So right now we are not expecting the fridge to run at all until we start the generator. Or we return the panel to the normal mode. Okay, so we're going to turn off the light here. Actually, we can leave it on because the generator won't run that anyways. So we're going to make our way to outside and start the generator, and we're going to do that on video number 3. So hi, Mom.
Hi.
Might be a little noisy. The neighbors are getting their roof redone. So when we're running the generator and we're doing the prep work, we want to make sure that this area here is clear. Yesterday I swept. There was some fine dust and grass that we don't want it to catch fire. That's a fire risk. So anything that's flammable, you don't want it around the generator because if it runs full load, it gets very hot. So the orientation is you need to clear this in a very large path. If it's winter, you may even need to take the snowblower out to make way. So right now we've emptied this gas can and I've put it partial for this one because we're not running outdoor equipment a lot. We don't want a huge fuel supply to not have stale old gas. We'd rather circulate it rather often. And what is important to know is that if you're trying to start this at night, this shed is not illuminated in a blackout. So as part of your testing equipment, it'd be smart to have a light bulb with an electrical plug that can plug into the generator panel. Okay, so we spoke about the light last. Now we're going to talk about fuel in regards to the fillet. I had an interruption recording earlier, so I had to restart here. So about a quarter turn, you lift it and you set it aside. Now generally fuel, you want to fill it outdoors on a level surface as much as possible, not indoors because the vapors will stay stuck in the shed and a spark could cause an explosion. So you want it well ventilated outside. So we're going to talk more about where to run the generator in a few moments. But to inspect the fuel, you put your eye in there and you just agitate it and you get an idea of where the fuel level is at. Like right now, I would guess about 1/8 to 1/4 of a tank in there. You don't want to keep too much gas in there. It's better to keep your fuel supply here so you have a better control of managing your inventory of fuel. So if your priority was you need emergency fuel to evacuate because there's a public emergency or something, you'd have fuel there to help you if you think you didn't have fuel in your car, or if a neighbor needed emergency fuel just to evacuate the neighborhood, you could provide them that. And you want to make sure that your generator starts or has the ability to start reliably before you add too much more fuel. So if you're in a blackout and you have to be inconvenienced for 5 minutes to check it, make sure it runs, you stop it and then you add the fuel after, because if you think it's severe like an ice storm, usually nothing fixes quickly.
Stop it first.
Yeah, you probably want to stop it for a short interval to refill. You can do that. If you're afraid of spills, there's a pump kit in here in this box that requires 6 AA batteries. and you put the one end of the wand at the source of the fuel, so say inside the gas tank, and the other side has like a little control wand that you can use to fill, and it'll avoid spillage, because holding a heavy gas tank or whatever is awkward. So anyways, that's the nature of it. So the starting power does not come from the wall. People have a misguidance about that. This keeps the battery that we replaced in 2025 well charged. It has about a 4 to 5 years of life expectancy, and it trickle charges through here back into the battery. This is your starter button. We'll talk about that later. So the job of this thing is to keep your battery fully topped up, so if you have a difficult crank like in the winter, you're not having to pull the cord aggressively, or if you're weaker, not feeling well, you probably don't want to have to be pulling the cord. Although it does work, it's been recently tested. So in general, once again, you want to have very clear open spaces, nothing that would cause any kind of fuel or like hay or anything like that. You want to give it a good sweep. We have a broom here that you can sweep out any debris. Like often there's debris in these cracks. Before you begin the operation, take a minute and clear it out as best you can, especially summertime or springtime. It'll be more likely to have lawnmower clippings fly there. The winter, your biggest worry is melting the snow. It's less obvious, but that's the issue. Okay, so then in the next video segment, we're going to take care of the proper placement of the generator, identification of parts and critical switches, and then we're going to do our first start. Here we go. Mom and I are going to position the generator. Mom's going to do the recording while I give the example of where to place things, and then I'll point to the things that are critical.
Okay.
So my object generator from here over to here, and I'll demonstrate all the steps, and I'll go nice and slow so Mom can record the key things. So here you go, Mom. And then your fingers, just keep them to the side at the lower part, because the camera lens is up here at the top. You see? Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So come on into view. Again, we're going to talk about this electrical thing up here.
Yep.
We're going to take the string, we're going to follow it, and we're going to pull it by pulling just gently straight out. And it exposes the barrel connector.
Yeah.
And you're just going to kind of tuck it away out of the way so nothing will snag it, nothing will capture it. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to position the machine at the edge of the door just like we would want it. So Dad had set things up to hold the pulling handle.
Grab handle, yeah.
And the objective is to swing it over and line it up so the exhaust and the source of fresh air can zoom in from the engine coming from this side and out to cool the engine itself, and the hot exhaust gas has to go outside the door. So when we turn it 90 degrees, we're going to have it perfectly set up the way he tested, and it ran well for a hot day and a cold day. If it was an extremely hot day, like 35 Celsius or more, you may want to give your generator an interval to cool down with no loop, just because those are extreme temperatures. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to take the weight off the front of the machine. It's easier to do this with less gas in it.
Right.
So take every advantage you can to lessen the weight.
Oh, no,
And
wait,
you may
okay.
have to rock it back and forth to bring your wheel to about the edge,
Okay.
about here. Now, what makes this position ideal again is the exhaust and the ability to draw air and make it pass through the engine, the cooling fins, and bring it out. That's really critical. If the machine can't breathe, you'll burn out your engine. The second thing you have to prepare on this machine is the electricity. The plug-in to send the electricity to the house is located on this side of the machine. So able to bring the power cord there to feed the house, you need space to walk here and not have a trip hazard.
Right. Is
So
that
I'm going
that?
to proceed here. And this is the cable here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to position the cable in front of my body so the phone can come closer and zoom in on here. So the phone can identify the unique features of this cable. The notch here is a unique plug spot that makes it lock, and it makes it only fit in one manner into the plug so that you can't be mistaken. If it fits and it rotates and it locks, you did the right thing. You have no concerns. So I don't want to trip in the cable, like show my legs here. It's dangerous. So you want to position yourself, keep
Okay.
the cable passing to the rear of the machine, away from the exhaust.
Yeah, I got
You
that.
see the cable?
Yeah.
And you're going to bring it forward to the electric panel on the circuit that's labeled 120, 240 volts. And the notched is up here. I'll use my right hand, so it might be easier to focus on that.
Yeah, I got it.
And the notch is here.
Okay.
So you're going to put it in the upward position, make it lock in, and give it a quick twist, and then it should fit snug. I'd say maybe 2 or 3 degrees clockwise locks it. I'm pulling and it
Okay,
can't come
can't
out.
pull. Okay.
So if the machine's vibrating like this, it'll prevent it from dislodging in the middle of the night and you freeze in the winter.
Okay.
Okay, so now here's your switch positions. This is a general breaker. So if you overload it, it should pop. Boop! This button's going to come out, and then you can depress it to reset it. But you got to fix what was wrong. If it popped, that means there's something wrong. You have to investigate why it popped. Like you're drawing too much power, something melted. I don't know. It's best to stop the machine and investigate before you do that. This is the main power distribution switch, the red one. It should be in the off position when you start the machine. The idle control, when you start the machine, you want it off. You don't want to be messing around with RPMs that are fluctuating when you're starting to crank it. This is a 12 volt output. We don't use this in our setup, though we could, we don't. These plugs over here, you can plug the trouble lamp like we showed earlier.
Yeah.
So if you're having to troubleshoot or you're just doing a fuel checkup, you can use this to illuminate the area if you need to fuel up at night. Use it to your advantage. But don't plug anything too heavy here if you have the house being used. This is what was calculated by Dad when he planned what would be done. So a little light is not a big deal, but you don't want to start running heaters and all kinds of nonsense when the house is what you're trying to rescue.
Okay. The house is the big cable.
The big cable, yeah. And if you know you've turned off the breakers downstairs that we've shown, and you need to run something more heavy duty in the shed, then that's okay. Like for instance, if you're having trouble starting the snowblower, and you need an electrical source to help you crank the snowblower to get out in a major snowstorm, you can disable the house temporarily.
And
Use
plug
these
in.
plugs to try to help you
Okay.
to start in the event you need help.
Okay.
Because you don't have electric start on your snowblower, but you do on the generator.
Okay.
Okay?
Can use that.
You
Yeah.
can use that to your advantage. Okay, so I'm going to just nudge it back. The other items of importance on this generator is identifying the run switch. I can take over from here. So the run switch is what controls whether the engine will generate spark and allow it to keep going. If you turn it off, you've disabled the spark plug and the engine will just die.
Okay, so it has to be on.
This
on.
is how you stop the engine, generally speaking. The red lever is a choke. When it's to the left, which is most starting conditions, you would run it here. If it's cold, you'll always need it here, no matter what, and it might need to be there for a little bit longer than in the summer. And there's 3 indentations: full, half, and off.
Okay, so
You can go in the middle, but by the time you mess with it, the generator might be ready to kind of be in mid or off anyways. We'll demonstrate that later, but it's harder to talk about it with the generator running because it's loud. So when you're going to crank, you're going to have it in the full, especially if it hasn't previously run. Like right now it's cold.
Yeah.
We never ran it. It would be in
That position.
full choke.
Yeah. Full
So
choke.
the objective of this is to add more gas than air on a cold start. And when it's running, you want it to be running
Go back, yeah.
in normal mode, because this is where the engine can get the most efficiency with the ratio of air and gas being mixed, that it runs and it gets the most power out of the gasoline rather than the focus on just the startup. This is where it runs most efficient and every horsepower comes out best here where it's tuned. So right now it's in the stop position because we don't want
So
the engine
what does
to...
it says stop, and what does the top one say? Run.
Run.
Run. That's what I couldn't make it out there.
Okay,
Run. Yeah.
so Mom, make your way in here and I want you to look towards the panel. Okay, so as you can see, Mom is looking in this direction here to look at the panel shown with the black button. This is what controls the crank of the engine. So I'll just tap it so you see what happens. It's going to make a loud noise, so just be aware.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
That's
so it engages the starter to make it run. So for us to make it run today, we're going to need this.
Right.
Or you can use the crank if you think your battery's depleted. We hope it won't because we did the maintenance required to ensure that we have a reliable thing. So out of these components, we've identified everything you need to do to prepare. So I'm going to stop this video now, and then we're going to start a new video with it cranking and showing Mom preparing the positions of everything cranking.
Yeah, so there would be that. Before I even press that, I have to have it.
A number of things done.
Yeah.
Mom, we're getting ready to run. So the one thing we didn't talk about, Mom, on the last video was the fuel. The fuel, to activate the fuel tank
Oh.
to allow fuel to go into the carburetor. The carburetor is here under the air box, and that what controlled the ratio of gas
To
and air. So here there's a metal fuel valve. Right now it's in the off position. So the lever is pointing to off. And if we want it to run, we'd have to put it to the on position.
Oh.
And that opens a ball valve to let fuel flow through into here. And you have to give it about 10 or 15 seconds to dribble and fill like a bowl
Yeah.
of the carburetor so it can suck
it up.
and aspirate it and turn it into vapors to run the engine. So now we've given it a bit of time. Sometimes it leaks. A past repair, this thing was leaking. So the fix to avoid that is you shut off this valve and you wait it for stop dripping. You don't want fuel vapors around this hot engine. If you see drips and it's uncontrollable, shut this tank off and stop using it.
Okay.
Right now we've had it reliable. It's been running. I've done a series of tests, so we're good. So your fuel is active, Mom.
Yeah.
The next step is you're going to place this run switch into the on position.
It's on run.
Yep. Your choke,
Choke
you'll
is
set
gonna
it to
be
full.
here. And now it's ready
Okay.
to press.
And then you're going to look at
Exit.
the next panel.
Oh, we gotta go here.
So the front panel where the electrical cord is, place your body so you can see better and read upright. So on the panel, you have the load switch
Oh yeah, it's
in
on
red.
off. Yeah.
You want it off. You want nothing power-wise to be leaving this
Off.
cable,
Oh.
not yet. And then you have your idle control. This is a fancy feature of this generator. We want it off while we're in the start.
Oh.
This comes into play if there's no load, like the fridge ain't working, the lights ain't working, it's nighttime, everybody's gone to bed. The engine will lower the RPM to save gas until somebody flicks on a light and it needs to
But
power
none
up.
of this is on to start the machine
Yeah, because we don't want it to be
Yeah.
controlling power yet.
yet.
We want the engine to start with the least amount of difficulty possible. So let's summarize. Your power output is off. Your fuel was turned on.
Yeah.
Your choke was set to high. All this is controlled on its own. Now your next command is to position yourself here
You started.
and engage the starter by pressing the start button. Okay, when the idle is going funny like that, you can put it to half. And you see how it's starting to warm up. Starting to warm up a little bit. And then you can retract the choke. Okay, come with me away. So right now, we're giving this machine an opportunity to warm up a little bit and be ready. If we wanted to be extra sure, we could disconnect that cable and put that temporary light bulb in its place to make sure it's generating power. But because we did this yesterday, I have no concerns of it generating power. But we didn't test the 240 light circuit to the house. Today is the full-blown test and run. So, as you saw, Mom did all the steps required, which is not complicated when you have a bit of knowledge of what you're doing. And at any time, this video's, you can review it prior to you do it so you have confidence going into it. Now, this generator is supposed to run at a consistent RPM of about 3,600 RPM. It has controls on board to try to keep that up. But if you're putting things on like the refrigerator and you hear the RPM drop and it won't recover back to this kind of a tone, then you know you're overloading it and there may need to have some more calibration done. The purpose of today's test run is to make the generator start and carry what's a normal load so we have reliability going into like the blackout season that we know we don't have too much to tinker with. You want to put it to the test now, have certainty you can do the test, and then with the knowledge you gain, you can adjust and say, I can't run both fridges, the furnace, and the microwave. It's too much. So this, based on the 4000 model, it's only rated for 4,000 watts. It's an older machine, so you may not want to push it that hard. A microwave by itself is 1,000 watts. So 1/4 of the usage is gone. A fridge, you have two big ones that could run at any time when it wants power. So you got to be ready for it. Okay, so now we've given it a warm-up time. The oil is circulating and it's doing it smoothly. So the next step is we're going to activate the red switch for power. Okay, you heard the engine. Something just turned on. And it's going to try to maintain this RPM. So let's go in the house and investigate what's running. So we are entering the house on a new video segment. You can hear the generator running in the distance. There was a load that started. And we're going to go investigate in the house what started.
It's on here.
What's starting? The fridge?
The fridge, yeah.
So the fridge had been turned off about 20 minutes.
And it's on now. If you open the door, it's lights on. Yeah.
And we can hear a fan, maybe a compressor running. It's a little hard because I hear the generator more than anything. So we can try the kitchen lights to turn them on. They're not running.
No.
The generator,
What was it? The microwave?
you had turned the red switch on. That's not running.
So it's the fridge that's.
Oh, we're breakers downstairs. We never turned them on. So that only leaves the fridge that could have started. There's nothing else potentially possible to start it. So when we go downstairs, we are going to have to ignore that fan. That's not part of the backup. So again, this light as well, that's not part of the emergency power. You'd need flashlights. So the only thing we left on were the two refrigerators.
Oh, I
so
see.
these are the only two things that could have made the generator struggle. So if we turned on the number 7 breaker for upper lights and receptacles,
We should.
number 7, we should see kitchen lights and some lights in our
Go on.
bedrooms.
Okay.
Now, I heard the generator surge a little bit, so the lights are not the most powerful things. And when Dad first designed the generator, light bulbs draw more power than LED bulbs. So we have some energy savings.
Kitchen light is on.
So there you are.
Yeah.
That's the proof that the lights work here, here.
And the microwave.
The microwave should not run. We did not turn on
It's
that.
not on, yeah.
We did not turn that on. So we should only have lights and a couple plugs maybe. So the bathroom light illuminated
Oh, and the bedroom light is on.
and the bedroom illuminated.
Oh, and
So
the
this would
little
control the
lamp
fan.
too. The little
So there you
lamp
go.
is on too.
So there's some plugs that are active and some that maybe not. The microwave is on an isolated plug.
That's why, yeah.
So other things that run in here is that lamp.
That main one, yeah.
So it's handling the load as we know it. So if you needed emergency power in the living room, you'd get it out of that plug there.
Yeah, because it works.
So if you needed the radio, you'd plug it there
Yeah.
to get information, whatever. The stove would not work.
This plug here?
This plug is not generator backed up.
No, it's not yet. No, okay.
The only plug in the kitchen that I'm aware of that is generator backed up is above the microwave because this feeds the microwave, but the light has to be on. Or the breaker downstairs has to be on for the microwave.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's see if Mom knows what to do to turn on the microwave breaker. Go downstairs.
Oh, okay. Put on that switch for the microwave.
This can be a bit of a long video, but it's thorough for Mom. So she has an understanding and won't have to do all this crazy exploration later. She'll have more familiarity to review
So the
this.
microwave is number 5. Number 5 is here,
Yeah,
and that's the only one?
yeah.
So I put it up. So now if I go upstairs, it
You
should
open
be
the door, it should be on.
it should be on.
So let's turn on the furnace one as well, the one that's
The
neighbor.
furnace is number 6, so we put it on
So right now there's the opportunity for everything
to work.
to work.
Okay.
So when we're going to go upstairs, we're going to see the microwave clock flashing 12 o'clock because it lost its memory. And if we turn on the fan using the thermostat,
Yeah.
we should hear the blower come on. So then what Dad would do is he would run the blower on manual mode intentionally for an hour as
yes.
like a trial load.
Yeah, about that, yeah. So, microwave should be flashing. And is it? Yes. It says
So it's
something.
showing
Yeah.
kind of like
Something
reset the
before,
clock
right, yeah,
or whatever.
Okay.
Go ahead and open the door. Just it might be easier to see the light bulb
The
is
light's
active.
on, yeah.
There you go. So we're good.
And
Next, we're going to
the
do the
furnace.
furnace. So the fact now that the furnace is powered would give you the ability to heat
Would I get this?
the house.
Oh, yeah, this would.
You'd need a flashlight no matter what.
Yeah, okay. And this would be to go on.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how loud or how soon
not
it would
very-
kick on. We may not hear it right away. But in
Oh, I
theory,
just heard it. I hear it. I know I hear it. I recognize that sound.
yeah, I feel a little bit of air. I licked my finger.
It gets a little bit better as
It progressively soft starts, I
yeah.
think. And don't forget, the power now is from the generator. It's not as clean as a power.
yeah.
So it runs. So
Okay.
we have all the lights on. We don't have anything else like the microwave contributing to taking a lot of power right now.
yeah.
So in a situation like this, realistically, you want to turn off things as much as possible to not consume excessive gas.
Okay.
Keep the loads low, and we're going to leave the fan on for a short time, and then we're going to turn off the kitchen lights, and we're going to turn off the lamps above the sink. And if you were really in the pinch to save power and you want to keep it low, you could disable a few light bulbs in the kitchen fixture and a few above the sink or not run them.
Here, that's running, I think.
That's not
No.
I don't believe that was a generator controlled one. So right now, the last setting we have to play with or adjust at the generator is the idle
Oh,
control.
back now, because it's been running for a while, yeah.
We didn't bother resetting any clocks or anything like that because when you toggle it back over, you're gonna lose everything anyways.
Oh, yeah. Back to normal.
Yeah. We're gonna come back outside. You can hear that the tone of the RPM is linear, it doesn't change. And the exhaust would be quite hot. So now we have to be on our guards not to burn ourselves. Loose clothing, hair, anything. Tie it back, always. So I can tell by the tone of the engine with a low, it has a load. It's not maxed out. There's still room. But if two refrigerators would be running hard right now, you'd know it. They would be bogging a little bit more still. The RPM will drop a little bit and it does what it can to match it, but to a limited extent. So
before turning it off, we have to do something to the idle.
well, right now, the idle control is set to off. So in the event that everything turned off in the house, the RPM wouldn't calm down. So if you want to conserve fuel while you're sleeping, but still be ready for the furnace in the middle of the night, you set the idle control to on. So right now, on the black switch, set the idle control to on. Okay, so just for visual, I'm going to zoom in to indicate the idle control with the camera. So the idle control is now on. So right now, if we were to suspend the power to the house using the red switch, the engine would tell itself to calm down and lower the RPM. But because this generator hasn't ran with a substantial load in a while, we're letting it stretch its legs for proof of concept. So we're gonna let this run maybe for another 10 minutes or so, and I'll be satisfied. Again, it's a question of letting both fridges run. The microwave, you know, you have to be aware when you're in the house to run stuff. You might want to turn lights off if you want to run the microwave, especially if it's going to be a couple minutes or whatever, because you never know when the fridge will kick on. You need to have some horsepower room to not burn out your engine and let it adjust the throttle to keep up with demand. This generator is smart, it can do that. There's electronics on board. Not every generator will try to regulate it quite like that. There are governors on it, but it's not as refined as this one. This one has way more electronics for the inverter control to make a nicer sine wave and burn out less of your cell phones if the electricity is not 100% perfect.
So if you wanted to plug in your cell phone, where would you plug it in now?
You would use a normal outlet,
Like at the sink there?
like say at the sink or like above the microwave or by the furnace. The furnace, in the other video I showed that if you follow the cable to the body of the furnace, there's a metal looking box and there's two plugs there. One goes to that little pump and one you could use to charge a cell phone or a trouble lamp or anything.
How about the light in the living room where the big lamp is?
Yes, that you could use that. So in a situation like that, you may even want to grab a power bar and just not have to unplug 50 things, but only run one or two small things at a time. So as we know it, everything's running the way it should. But while we're talking, the one point we forgot is to verify the oil, which is really important. So the oil is located on the opposite side of the machine. So right now I can't really show it unless I step in, I will actually, one sec. I just don't want to trip.
There's a light on.
Yeah, that's your run light. So that's an indicator. If you're looking far and you see the light that's lit, you know it's generating some kind of power to control it. So this generator, Mom, if the engine was low on oil pressure, it would stop the engine and not let it run. So if you ever have extreme difficulty and it shuts off for random reason after every time you restart it, it's likely because you're low on oil. So the oil, you cannot check that while the engine's running. And it's very hot because it's running at a max RPM kind of thing. You got to give it lots of time to cool off if you do need to check. So in general, when you remove that yellow filler thing, there should be oil that comes up the tube right up to the edge of the thread where you screw it in. That's how you visually check that there's enough oil. But the machine has to be on a level playing field. If it's all cockeyed, you're gonna have the wrong perspective. So right now, there's not a lot to be done. It's more of a question of we're giving the opportunity of the equipment in the house to run as proof of concept that it's running. So, let's go in a quieter area to discuss what we know. So it's a lot quieter here, you'll notice.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So what we know, the vulnerabilities of this home with the current backup power is to clean yourself. You don't have a long chance of staying here more than a day or two because you don't have a hot water tank.
Connected, yeah.
You have no opportunity to get hot water unless you have an electric kettle. Doing your dishes will be difficult. Your stove doesn't run
That's
to
right.
boil a pot.
But I could heat water in the microwave.
But
in
that'd
a
be
bowl.
terribly inefficient.
Okay,
So that's your most vulnerable thing.
okay.
So in the sense that if your power outage lasted more than a day or two and you need hygiene or anything like that,
You find a spot.
you'd be in trouble. So your response in an extended long term would be to offer someone to run the generator in their home and connect it to their gas hot water tank
Oh, I
for
see.
the electricity for the blowers to run.
Okay.
That would be, sorry, I'm shooting in a random spot. That may not have been appropriate, sorry. But your response would be to offer it to someone like Nathalie, who has a natural gas burner,
Okay.
that you could run the generator under their carport and put an extension cable through a window temporarily to power up their hot water unit.
Oh, okay.
So at least everybody in the home would have a chance to shower,
Oh, okay.
and the heat to generate the water comes from natural gas, which is not interrupted
That's right.
unless there's a line that exploded somewhere.
Right.
So that would be your saving grace, is you would tell Alain to come get the generator and plug just the hot water tank somehow in there and see if he can manage to get it going.
Yeah.
So that would be your saving grace for that. Dishes, it's not happening.
No dishwasher.
Unless you go to Knott's and you borrow an electric kettle or the neighbor's electric kettle,
She has an electric kettle. Yeah, I
and you
know.
could cooperate with neighbors to say, I have power, that you could charge your whatever in exchange to borrow your kettle for an hour or whatever as a bargaining chip, or to come warm up if they're in
They don't have
distress
any-
or whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because not everybody has been set up this way. The summer you're gonna have to sweat it out. There's no AC. There's only a few plugs for fans, which you can make air circulate. Water will not be interrupted, so you can get cold water to cool off, and you don't have a barbecue to cook.
Oh, okay. But there's
So
the
that'd be
microwave.
another alternative that in past power outages, you did have that.
Yeah,
So worst case scenario, you would go to Nathalie's to cook on the barbecue,
probably.
which you would coordinate. But again, you need fuel to get there, which is why we talked about the gas can
Yeah,
if
yeah.
this lasts a long time.
Yeah.
So The last part of this video that we have to conclude with is going to be the shutdown later of things to prepare to shut it down. So now the recording overall for everything is about an hour or more, which is long because we're talking a lot. But the prep is not that difficult. If you're just going to be repeating these steps, or you're watching this because you're nervous about you didn't remember what to do, this will cover everything. And you can replay it 50,000 times. Nobody's going to yell at you. So I'm going to prepare this video for you, Mom, so you can watch it from start to end on all the different segments that talk about everything we recorded today. So there you go.
There we go. I should get this down pat.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's go back in the house. I'm not sure if the fridge downstairs ran or not, but we've given the generator a good run. So I'm kind of happy with that, and I don't want to cause a brownout where you don't let enough energy come into the house and it messes up electronics. So I'd rather kill off one breaker at a time, and then we'll have confirmation when we come back outside if the generator relaxed and slowed down that the idle control is working. So let's go do that and we'll start recording from inside. Okay, so the RPM may have dropped a little bit, and the way we'll verify that is if we turn off the idle control, the RPM will go back up. So right now it shouldn't have any load. So if you turn off the red switch, it shouldn't make a difference because nothing should be drawing power. I just set it to off. Now, the idle control is set to on right now, telling it to keep the RPM under control but low, and there's no load. So now when I turn it on, I should hear the accelerate. But in our interest, we want the machine to cool down and not run so hard, burn so much gas, so it's good to leave the idle control on until you shut it off. But when you turn it back on later, you need to put that switch back to off. So right now, it's on. The generator now has been cooling for about 3 to 4 minutes. We're going to give it about another 30 seconds, and we're going to turn off the generator. And you can't park this thing right away. It's way too hot to put it back there next to gasoline and everything. So the temperature in the shed you can feel has gone up. It's warmer in the shed than here because the exhaust is still kind of coming around. You can't control that. This is the best thing you can do to try to get it somewhat regulated. If it's really cold in the winter, it's not a big deal that it warmed up a bit in there. It'll be better for the oil flow and everything. And it's more comfortable for you to investigate or refill gas if it's on the edge of the door here. But when you fill, you keep an eye on that exhaust. You don't want to be dribbling on hot exhaust because then you got a fuel fire. So this is why it's best to have a controlled pour like that little pump. You watch out for sparks. It's best to have that off. It's not running, there's no sparks. You be careful with your winter clothing for static electricity as well. People don't think about that a lot, but if there's lots of vapors of gas, boom. It's not the liquid that's as dangerous. It's the airborne, because it gets the right mixture of air and vaporized gas, just like a carburetor. It doesn't drink liquid. It drinks a gas format of gasoline that's been vaporized and sucked up by the vacuum of the engine. That's what's dangerous. So that's why when there's heat and the gas tanks expand because they're ballooning and it puts out vapors in the shed and you walk in, you make a spark, boom.
It's good to check your gas level in your tank
Before you start, yeah. So you put a minimum quantity to make sure your generator runs reliably. Yeah. Then you add more to it before it becomes red hot.
Yeah.
Warm is okay, like, you know, it's no big deal, but it's for a condition of you spilling gas. is why you do it. You could fill it if you're like the expert gas filler of the world. You can fill it while it's running, but there's a danger.
You don't want that.
You limit your risk, right? Already you don't have power. You can't call 911 easily, whatever. You don't do anything stupid that would compromise your ability to be rescued, to have a generator that runs to prevent your house from freezing. You take away all the risks. No grass, no burnable anything. Obstacles are out of the way so you don't trip and burn your leg on the exhaust. Okay, so we're ready now to turn off the generator. It's in the lower RPM. So Mom, what the instruction will be for you to do is to stand on that side of the generator, away from the path of the exhaust. And you're going to use the black run switch, and you're going to turn it off. Okay, now in other times what you want to do is shut off the gas flow in the opposite direction of where it's at now. So you're going to point it horizontally.
Oh, it's tight.
Yeah, it's tight because it has tight tolerances to not have leaks. So use your thumb and your index at the bad angle. Okay, so now the ability for gas to flow from the tank to the carburetor is very limited. It's almost impossible. I don't want this bowl. Whoops. Hi, Mom. I don't want gas to have an opportunity to stay in this bowl because that's what gravity does. It fills this bowl right to the top. And if it gets too full and it doesn't control it, it spills out like we saw before. And then that's where the needle in the seat comes in, Mom, that I had to do a repair. Okay. So I know there's still gas in here. So because I'm an advanced user, I'm going to try to just deal with this situation. Mom in an emergency would not give a crap about this because this machine's going to keep running 24/7 till hydro's restored. She'll call me and she'll say, Louis, inspect my machine when you're done. And the same thing should happen if somebody were to buy this house and then they keep the generator. You're going to want to have this thing professionally serviced if it ran for the day and stuff, or somebody who really knows what they're doing, change the oil, inspect everything. So in the next major event, you're certain that you're still back in the same situation, right? So I know how to do this, and all I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to crank the engine, and I'm going to mess with the choke to kind of keep it going a little bit
Use the gas that's
to
in
burn
the
up
bowl?
the residual gas.
Okay,
So
all right.
the gas, you always use top tier gas, a 91 or a 93
Oh, that's a good
octane.
point there, yeah.
You never use anything else because ethanol, which is corn, has a sugary base, and it clogs the little tiny jets and holes in the carburetor, and that will prevent fuel from flowing. So you top tier, and they'd have little to next to no ethanol, and it'll run better, and it runs better at high RPM for a load. It's known. It's a thing even with fancy cars with top-notch turbos that are, you know, even our car, Mom, would run better on top-tier gas, but the engine was created to not require it. But in hot summer conditions, if you think it doesn't run quite right, put best gas and you'll have a better experience. But for this, always run top tier. For the sake that it's saving your life, give it the best lifeblood you can. So that concludes the video. I think Mom's going to have learned a lot today. She's going to sleep soundly or sleep in frustration.
I'll be rehearsing that
Rehearsing.
in my mind.
And
okay, now you say you're going to restart it so that you're going to play with the choke to use up the gas that's in that little bowl.
So I'm basically, like, if I were going to explain it like a vacuum cleaner, I'm putting my hand at the end of the vacuum cleaner to make a restriction to cause more vacuum to throw the fuel that's in the bowl, splash it up in the air. And then the engine will consume that fuel. It'll go into the piston, and I'm just going to mess with it to cause a disturbance to have it splash up, and nothing's going to sit in the bowl to make like gelatin to clog the ports.
Now that valve is closed, so there's no more
There's
gas
no new
that's
more.
going to go in there.
Only what's kind of settled in the line or in the bowl
Okay,
that's
it's
going to be
gonna be used
consumed.
up, yeah.
So the rest, it's not really something we need to video. If you had to run the generator in emergency, I'd be calling to town to follow up on making sure you're okay anyways, right?
Yeah.
Or at least it would have saved the day and paid for itself in light of an emergency. So
So good.
I'm smiling. I showed my mommy what I had to do. It's proof that she learned, she was here.
Well, we're going to try it
And
out.
the unicorn supervised and left a trace to prove it's true. All right.